So we'll start with few moments of silence first. Few moments, let us remind that we are guests in this building, and we are guests on this planet. Let us experience the lightness of a guest. Guests are always happy, just like a tourist. So in this silence we remind we are travelers, we are guests. Thank you. And this is such a very relevant subject for all of us, health, happiness, but also understanding more about our mind. And we don't need a huge evidence to show how our body responds to what is happening in the mind. If right now you create a thought of fear, your blood pressure will change, your heart rate will change, your skin resistance will change, your chemicals of the body will change. Just one thought and you will see this. You can see this in yourselves. Same thing happens other way around. If you create a thought of contentment, thought of peace, thought of happiness, it will also create harmony. Health just means harmony. There is harmony of chemicals, harmony within the body. But also we want to see healthy society also. And you will notice just a smile in your company. If someone smiles, if you respond different life situations with smile, it creates harmony. As opposed to a person who is very serious, it creates less of a harmony. Agree? So also here, that inner smile, inner happiness, that's what we are looking for. But in this subject of happiness, there is one happiness, that is, the material happiness. And what is shown here, I will describe what is described here. But one happiness is happiness coming from outside, and that creates temporary excitements, but creates long-term problems. Because you get trapped in this world, and then subconsciously you are missing it. So more happiness you look for at a material world, which is temporary. Subconsciously you create long-term problems. So if there is any kind of sorrows, disappointment, it is only because we are trapped in this world in different ways. So it is like not a basis for happiness. Just like, if it was, happiness was to create health, then we might not need a NHS, just mini ice cream shops, and that would have created happiness everywhere. But we know that that is really the cause of unhealth and health problems. Also, we will see why mental health problems are on the increase everywhere. And people in power as well as in the health field, they find it a very challenging situation with the new generation, younger people having very high level of mental health problems. And that is a sign of a larger situation that we are dealing with. So during this hour, we will also explore what is that supersensuous happiness. This is what we want. Happiness that is coming from beyond. Happiness that comes from inside. And what is often described as a state of well-being. Silent state of well-being. Silent bliss. Can we get in touch with this unconditional upon outside world. If you can do this, then that is what will create health. That is what we want. Am I clear? So let us experiment with this right now. For just a few moments, let us remind ourselves that we are travelers. The lights don't need to change. Sorry, just it will go on all throughout. We will experiment all throughout. So we are reminding we are travelers, and travelers are aware of the exit. Travelers have come here just like we have come in this place. We are very clear of the exit. So also a traveler on this planet knows that there is a clear exit. And because of this awareness, he doesn't plan to claim things, to own things. He knows that he can't own a single atom in this world. A traveler. Every moment appears like a gift, and every interaction appears like a gift. Even this body appears like a gift. He knows everything is temporary, but great, like a tourist. There is silent appreciation. A traveler is aware of his world beyond. He knows the bigger journey. Thank you. And may I ask, anyone got a little feeling, slight experience of lightness, of inner happiness? Feeling of a traveler, this moment as a gift, that you don't own anything here. Are you happy with this? You don't own one atom of this world. Do you like this idea? Yes. Do you feel sense of freedom with this? Because if you don't own single atom here, you don't lose anything here. That is what creates inner lightness. More a person thinks this is mine, this is mine. It is just a model, his belief. More he creates in him a subconscious panic that he can lose so much. And that reduces our happiness. What spiritual knowledge tells us, our natural state is of happiness, inner happiness. Peace is natural for us. And all that we need to do is remove these factors that create anxiety or feeling of loss. So one nice story in this connection, and you all possibly know this story. A queen, was searching for her necklace. She searched and searched everywhere, and finally found it around her neck. This is our story. We all are looking for something, we are looking everywhere, searching, going to the moon, Mars. We are searching for happiness, searching for peace. But the message is, it is within us, and that is where we have to come to. Now, in this journey, there are two factors. At present, we are as if immersed in this physical world. This is what is shown here, the box, black box, that is representing the entire physical world. And at present, we are caught in it, in a spiral. And so much so that we can't think anything beyond it. Just our resting, our thoughts, 24 24-hour thoughts, 90% of them are cyclical thoughts. Thinking of the small things, petty things, again and again. We have no chance to go beyond it. And most of these thoughts are creating in us subconscious sorrow. The cyclical thoughts are thoughts of sorrow. Something, we tend to gravitate towards the negative. Something that has gone wrong, you think of it more. Something might go wrong, you think of it. Even the positive things of the past, when you think of it, you think with a negative slant. You think it was so nice last year, but it is not there now. Those people are not here right now. So you are thinking of it in a negative way. And this can be changed. We need to see the bigger map of our lives. One nice description of this, someone gave a nice image. Say a honey bee. The life of honey bee is around honey, and you give this honey bee a honey pot. So the honey bee must be happy with this honey pot. Yes? But after 10 minutes you come to see this, and the honey bee is drowning in the honey pot. Now there is a problem there. For this honey bee to come out of the honey pot is success. We are at present drowning in this honey pot. Understand? Lots of honey around, lots of wonderful things, but we are drowning in this. That is represented there by downward spiral. We want more of it, can't stop thinking of it. It is suffocating us and prevents us from what is normal, prevents us from experiencing that original peace. The answer to this is not more honey. The answer is to step out of the honey pot, to know what it means to step out and be able to breathe and discover what it is, a life without suffocation. Different kinds of our subconscious, anxieties and all, this is suffocation. We have the option to discover life without suffocation and may discover the wings. Am I clear? When we are suffocating, we have lost our wings. So this whole journey, spiritual journey, and we may use the word meditation for this, and it has two important aspects in this. One is detachment. We have to step back. Even for a few minutes, let us step back, step out of this. And second is waking up. Something has to wake up within us. That higher consciousness has to wake up. So when you are playing with the word guest is detached. Guest is like we are in this right now. We are involved in this place. We are using things. But at the same time we know we are guests. And guest doesn't create attachments. Even though you are using chairs and all, you don't start to believe that this is your chair. You don't put labels, my to everyone you meet, because you know you are a guest. We are guests on this planet. Is that right? Anyone has got plans to stay here? If you are not making those big plans, you are a guest, which means you have an exit, and it also means you don't own one atom of this world. Just coming back to this awareness, that helps you step back. What is shown here also is a spiral going up. We want to put ourselves in that spiral. All good habits, bad habits start somewhere. We just have created this habit of going into the pot, and as if we don't know any other option. Even at the time of death, one professor in London by name Peter Fennick, he's a brain specialist, and he studies death. He studies people who are dying, and it's a big study. And he finds it amazing, that even at the time of death, what is important for them? You ask, they are worrying about their car, or they are worrying about some little things. They don't know any other way of thinking. Just they are in that rut. More, and that goes on. We have the option to create a new habit, and it is good for us. And this new habit is, first let us experiment coming out of this honeypot. So if you experiment with this, let us experiment right now that we are guests on this planet. And guest doesn't own a single atom here. This guest has an exit. We are seeing this bigger map. And this guest, for him, every moment is a gift. As for any guest, this body is a gift. This interaction is a gift. For him to come here is nice, to leave also is nice. Guest always is aware of his life beyond. So this is like the one step of stepping back. And these little feelings that you are getting, little feeling of lightness, they gather inside, because these are super sensuous. They are not based on senses. They are not based on sense objects. So they help you make the soul stronger inside. So we said, first thing we need is detachment. From different angle, we have to experiment with this. And second thing, something has to wake up in us. We said higher consciousness has to wake up. And that is what we mean by soul consciousness. This term you hear about the soul and the knowledge of the soul. If you are conscious, if the soul was to wake up, you will discover something that is extraordinary, even for a few seconds. And to help the soul wake up, we have to give it attention. So during this next few minutes, let us experiment with this. How to create awareness. It is all helping the soul wake up. So next few minutes, we, as always, keep the body comfortable. Consciously see that the body is relaxed, both feet on the floor. Feel free to keep the hands free. Keep the bags and books, all your pounds, money, keep it away from you for a few minutes. And let the body relax, shoulders, fingers relax. And we remind that just like a car has a driver sits in a certain place in the car. In the same way, this body is like a car. Eyes are like the windows. And the driver is seated behind these windows. we see this driver in this body in the image of a tiny star seated behind his eyes. And this living star is seeing this room, the images, colors. That tiny star is making sense of the impressions. We are aware that there is a world outside, there is a body, but we are also aware of this soul seated behind his eyes. He is like the driver of this body. He also makes sense of the sound that we hear. He makes sense of the sensations of the body. And he is seated just behind his eyes. We are just aware of his existence. We are aware that this driver is temporarily in the car. Car is not his home. Car is never the home of any driver. So this driver is more like a guest in this body. He has his world beyond. All along we have attention on this living star behind his eyes. He is secure, very secure. Criticism of the car is not the criticism of the driver. Driver has his own eternal existence. Thank you. So all that happened in the last few minutes, we are giving attention to the self. Can you imagine, that the driver using the car completely forgets himself, his own existence even. This is exactly what is happening here. There is this driver, there is dealing with this body and dealing with life, and he has lost his awareness. He is not conscious. That's why we said our one aim is something has to wake up. So when this higher consciousness is shut down, the soul is not conscious, ego becomes conscious. Ego is running our life, ego is running the show. Ego interprets everything. And ego, what is shown here, small I. Ego is the product of confusion. Ego is embodiment of fear. Ego is forever in the awareness of a victim, forever. Regardless of what he achieves, ego always feels a victim. Because, why? Because his world, what it is based on, is unpredictable, which is this world. This world comes with a label, unpredictable. It is going to change, it has an end. And ego is based on this. Its whole idea of I is based on this. So forever it is negative, forever fear, forever victim. And as a result, its life is, presents in different ways. Greed, aggression, taking offense, giving offense. 100% it is because of the ego. Anyone here has got ego? Yes, so small ego, if ego becomes bigger, everyone wants to solve it. They don't like this feeling of fear inside or being a victim, so they want to solve it. And in the process of solving it, they make the ego bigger. And bigger ego is more of a victim and more sensitive. If someone is quick at taking offense, it just means ego is bigger. Understand? No? So this is the way world is trying to solve it. We have the option, and we have the option to come to the higher consciousness, come outside of that box. This whole step out of this. That is what the awareness of the guest is. Guest is not defining himself based on this. Guest is a traveler here. Soul is not of this world, he is a traveler. As we said, he doesn't own one atom of this world. Everything here is extra for him. And that's why he is not experiencing this inner feeling of being a victim. Victim, it is like, say, I come in this place, I'm a guest, but I start to believe this is mine. For whatever reason, I believe this is mine. Then someone can criticize this, and I'm a victim. Someone can break this, and I'm a victim. I become vulnerable. So at present, as we create our attachments and ego in this world, mind is forever a victim. Forever, the mental model, inner mindset is of a beggar. Please give me, please praise me, please love me, forever. That is not leading to happiness. Even if there is happiness, it is the happiness of a beggar, happiness of a victim. We have something very different option. An option, step back. So what is shown here is the bigger map of our journey. Spiritual model tells us that this is not the only world. For ego, this is everything. These little things is everything. That's why it keeps thinking about. These cyclical thoughts are coming from the ego. In spiritual model, this is temporary. He knows beforehand he is here for a short time. His world is much bigger, subtle. The one word written here, alaukik, and nice translation of alaukik, unearthly. Our world beyond is different, subtle, invisible, alaukik. It is timeless and changeless, endless. And this guest, he is himself alaukik. He is himself from this timeless world. And so when you are playing with this, you are realizing you got your home beyond. What we call Paramdham, Supreme Home, Brahma Tattva, different words are used, Nirvana Dham. It is that is the home. Dham means home. Sanskrit also, but Russian also. Dham, same word, means home. What we call dome, it is a similar etymology, I think. So this is our home of the traveler, and he is safe, secure. This world is not affected by what is happening here. This world is unpredictable, but this is forever secure. So one who is awake, or even for a few minutes as we start playing with it, you discover complete freedom from this world. That's why soul conscious person is free from this mind of a victim, mind of a beggar, or this constant subconscious desires, panic, is free from it. That lower personality. He discovers a personality, we can call it noble. And noble, inner feeling of fullness, secure. Everything is forever good. So let us play with this. In a few minutes, let us experiment. So we are not just going to hear about happiness and health, let us experience. Are you happy with this? So just for a few minutes, we are using our spiritual sight. Just like physical eyes, we see this physical world, we are using a spiritual sight. And with this sight, we see the whole physical world as a story. So everything that we saw today, it happened in a story. We are just playing with this model, just for a few minutes. What if this world is a story? So everything that happened in the past, it happened in a story. And future also a story. When we see it as a story, ego becomes small. Ego doesn't like to make this so small and so insignificant. So even the part, say someone is playing a part of a king, but if he realizes that that is a story, that is a theater, he doesn't create ego based on the part. So we are seeing what we saw today and in the past, it is all a story. Now there is nothing to complain about if it is a story. Nothing to worry about if it is a story. Nothing to be obsessed about. We know beforehand every episode has an end. In a story there can be surprises, unpredictable nature. It is fine, there is no complaint about story. We are able to put a full stop to our thoughts. We don't get caught into repeat thoughts when it's a story. We are able to come beyond the story. And beyond the story is silence. There is no noise of the story. We don't need to think of the story. We discover this dimension which is place of stillness. We see this world in the image of a sky. A world of complete silence. This world is timeless. Timeless, changeless, endless. Our attention is on this sky, world of light, world beyond the story. During this time, we don't need to think of the story. We give ourselves this option of stepping beyond the story. For the awake soul, it is normal to be like a star. For the awake soul, it is normal to be immortal. It is normal not to need anything from the story. It is normal to experience peace. When there are no desires, there is peace. For the awake soul, it is normal to belong to the sky. Sky beyond the sky. It is normal to belong to the family of souls. It's a big family. All belong to this family. No one is an outsider. For the awake soul, all appear to be good. In the original state, they are egoless. They are egoless, desireless, sorrowless. All are good. All are worthy of love. They are all childlike and godlike. All we have done is use the spiritual sight, and we discover the beautiful truth, our truth. As we continue on our journey in the sky or on earth, we have the option to stay awake. We have the option to use the sight. Thank you. How are we doing? How is the concentration? And even if we, as we said, good habits start, bad habits start somewhere. If we play with it, even say 10% of it, it starts a habit. One word is enough actually in this process to start the spiral. One word, if it touches you, that is enough. It starts the journey. And everything else is a bonus. Anyone want to say anything or ask anything? Preferably easy questions. I know it is unpredictable, but some easy questions.
I think when you go into this sky, there doesn't remain any question.
Good. Very good. But even sharing of your observations, even that is good. Anyone want to? Or sometimes any difficulties also in your practice?
Obviously, it helps you to clean your mind as well.
Yes, nice.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, very good. one word that is written here, it is called paras. I might encourage you later to take a photograph of this wonderful sketch and print it out. Keep it in your main room. Each time you look at it, it will help you, because we need the reminders and the revision. In this journey, we need every possible help. Otherwise, as we go out of this place, everything is there to pull you back in this spiral. Someone wants to tell you something or draw you in it. That is the way the world is at present. So if you want these reminders, you have to create your own reminders. And every minute, 10 minutes, 10 seconds, they all are useful in this. And more you are coming out of this honeypot, it is guaranteed other experiences will follow. There is a big difference between honeybee in the honeypot and honeybee out of the honeypot. There is a big difference. One of the big aim for this, it is not just happiness, but our foundation has to be truth. That is what we want. If it is foundation is truth, then only it will last. Anything that is false, foundation is false, it can't last. It will be challenged. And life is like this. If you have anything, your belief is false, your understanding is false, sooner or later it will give you sorrow, it will be challenged, and that whatever is false will be destroyed. Am I clear? So here we want to see the truth about ourselves. And for this we need this paras buddhi. This is a higher intellect, refined intellect. One nice description of this, God-like intellect, how God sees. So one with the paras buddhi, he sees the bigger map. One with the pattar buddhi, that is also there, pattar buddhi, he is caught into gross with obvious blind spots. Pattar buddhi can deceive us. For example, if you are dealing with something that is changing, going, it's a cloud, there is a cloud, it is going. You don't create attachments to that cloud. You can see it going. You know beforehand it is unpredictable. You see it, but you don't create attachments. Am I clear? And this is like a common sense. If you go to someone's house, you are there for just 5 minutes, you don't create attachments. But children can create attachments. And when it is time to go, they start to cry. Agree? Because they don't see with a clear intellect. The intellect deceives them. And then they think this is mine, and they feel great sorrow when it is time to go. Now this world we are talking about, this physical world, is unpredictable world. It is temporary world for us. We have an exit, no different to the cloud. You see the cloud, it is going and it won't be there. Same with this world. It is changing in front of you, it is unpredictable, and we have an end. We are definitely going to come out. But our pattar buddhi, when we are using the gross intellect, it cannot see it. We are busy creating attachments and ego and desires and expectations in it, and that foundation is false. Pattar foundation deceives us. And that is why change frightens us, death frightens us, anything, behaviors of others bother us, give us sorrow, we take sorrow. We have to start using paras. We have paras, but we have to use it. If you don't use some muscles, they become atrophic. They become weak. If you use them, they become strong. Same thing with paras. If you have not used it, it is weak. So many, we may hear the knowledge and spiritual, we read books and many things going on, effort is going on. But if paras is not strong, then experience will not happen. It remains scholarly knowledge, information, words, but meditation experiences will be lacking. But we have the option to make paras strong. And this is our world, our home. We said supersensuous experiences, they are our, it is within us. It is the soul, nature of every soul. Param Pita is our Pita. But to experience this, we need Paras Buddhi. Pattar Buddhi cannot go beyond this. Pattar Buddhi can have concepts, models, ideas, thoughts, but not experience. Am I clear? So Pattar Buddhi it favors the ego. Ego is happy with Pattar Buddhi. But we have to start with Paras. And the easy way to train this Paras, try and see what is subtle. Paras' speciality is it can see what is alokik. And it can see the bigger map. Can go beyond the pettiness, see the bigger. So just as say, I can see this room, but I can also see this larger city, have this awareness. There's a much bigger city here and we have come here just for a short time. You are stretching your intellect. Same, if you do it for 1 minute, 2 minutes, they are precious 2 minutes. You are building muscles. It's like, if someone is very weak, you give physiotherapy, they give him little exercise for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then the muscles become strong. Then he can run marathon some months later. But start in a small way. Same here. This is our friend. Paras is our friend. We have to start with it. So let us create these few moments of Paras experiment. It is good practice to keep always the posture, good posture. Just a simple, relaxed posture. At the same time, we are free to move. We don't create we accept this world as it is. There may be sound and someone walks in, walks out. We accept. And in a second, we come to that sky. Sky beyond the sky. And aware that this world is timeless, exists forever. We see that this world is subtle, it is of light. When we are here, we do not need to think of the story. We see this sky, we are aware of its changeless nature. And in the sky are the living stars. Backdrop of stars. Aware that this sky is our home, true home. There is a sense of belonging here. We belong here forever. That temporary story is never our home. It is not anyone's home. With Paras, we see the reality of this. This is not just a meditation. This is the true home of the family. Family of souls. This is the true family. As we continue on our journey, in the home as well as in the story world, we remember the beautiful truth. Thank you. There is, you like stories? You want to hear another story? In this story, one insect was on the back of a pig. In a farm, on the back of a pig, this insect was crawling, and this insect finds a piece of mud on the back of a pig. And this insect says, "Wow, I'm so lucky, I got a big land. And it is, I was looking for such a land, and now, and it is in a good location." So he was busy putting notices, trespassers not allowed. So an eagle comes, and the eagle says, "Do you want to come with me?" They come, where? "I'll take you to the sky, I'll take you beyond clouds. You will see the sun, and you will see, I'll show you the mountains and the valleys, the different animals. I will also show you the pig also. And this, you will see this pig." He says, "But right now I'm busy. I found this land. I was waiting for this. This is not a time to think of the sky. But come next week. I want to come, but next week. In the meantime, I will sort out this land." So eagle says, "Okay." So eagle goes, comes again after 1 week. They say, "Do you want to come to the sky?" He says, "Now I have found more land, and I have to sort this out, So these are like rare opportunities to get this. So I'm not coming to the sky now, but come next week." So eagle says, "Okay, I'll come next week." So eagle comes next week. "Do you want to come to the sky?" He says, "There are now some cracks in my land. I have to fix this. I'm busy with plumbers and carpenters, so maybe I have to give up this plan of the sky. I got my life now here." Now this gives us an insight into the two options, consciousness level options. And that insect is also happy. He got a promotion and got a big land and he got a success and things are getting solved. He's happy. But the one who knows the eagle option, he will never choose to stay at the insect level. There is no difference, no comparison even. Am I clear? No comparison between these two. Same, maybe even bigger. These options for us are even bigger. One side is ego. Ego, as we said, its life is sad, mad, bad. It is the whole behavior of that. It comes from the ego, sooner or later. Little excitements that traps him even further. That is the dominant consciousness. That is the option. Other option, you are discovering immortality, discovering life with God, discovering what it means to have a mind where there is no reason for sorrow. What is described in the Gita, you win the sky, you also win the earth. You win heaven, also the earth. So one who is awake, he knows in the subtle things. If paras is made strong and if the soul is awake, you are discovering anyone who is awake. He doesn't need to be told. He knows which house he belongs to, which family he belongs to, who is the father. It is like he lives in the experience, one who is awake. So also here, soul that is awake, he knows this big reality beyond. And he becomes free from the ego. That's the big thing. He comes in that truth. He comes to know what the truth is, the right way to look at this world. He wins the sky. Ordinarily, ego doesn't even know that sky. He wins, discovers the sky, experiences the sky. But he also wins this earth. For him, this world is an extraordinary gift. But that's it. Just like we said, for a guest, every moment is a gift. It is extraordinary. He sees it like that. Small, small things, a stone, some wind, the leaf, human beings, their behavior. He has no reason for complaint here, if he is awake. If that waking state drops, if the ego takes over, then it is a different. Then he has knowledge of what he experienced yesterday. But ego will have complaints, ego will have ego life, sad, bad, mad. But we have the option to discover the eagle and discover the sky. Starts in small ways. I might encourage you to get the recording of today's this talk and these little experiments and create time at home. Definitely take a photograph and print it out, have a look at this or draw a sketch like this. Thank you. We are going to watch a short video now, and this video is not connected with happiness, but indirectly I want to connect it to happiness. Is something coming on top of here? Should I move? So what this video, just tell you a little bit of a background to this. It is a talk by someone called Jim Bandel. Jim Bandel is a professor in Cumbria University studying sustainability, environment. And based on the science observations, research, he's telling what kind of world we are in, what is to happen in the near future. In fact, he tells us the serious message that this world here, there is a big, he uses the word collapse, you will hear about that, collapse of our life and life, our present lifestyle. In the imminent near future, he speaks about 2 years and 10 years, and it is different things that are to happen. And that kind of world, if we are to be presented with a world which is very unpredictable here, we need the strength, we need the truth to deal with it. If we approach it with false position, then guaranteed we will definitely lose our happiness. Understand, no? The smallest change, one word from a person creates unhappiness in a person. You know, when it is ego-based life, we are so vulnerable to anything. These big changes that he is talking about, it is better, you know, if we are warned beforehand, forewarned or forearmed. You are prepared beforehand. And with this attitude, let us listen to this video, watch it and listen for 10 minutes. And, you might be able to find the link and study him more, but we'll have some discussion after the video. Thank you.
Have really helped me realize that people are ready for a new quality of conversation that starts from a very different starting point in terms of acceptance of what the science is telling us. So I've been working in sustainability since my first job in 1995 when I left Cambridge University and went to work at WWF. But in that time, I had basically assumed what the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change was saying as the state of the environment, the state of the climate, and the nature of the challenge, the time we had. But what happened was, basically over the last few years, like all of us, I kept seeing these really terrifying stories passing across my screens. And these stories were quite similar to the kind of the most horrific scenarios that people could imagine would be possible one day. From way back in 1993, when I was at Cambridge University studying climate science within my geography degree. And so there was this sort of dissonance between my work on sustainable business within the broad paradigm of sustainable development, which means incremental change to the current system, and what I was sensing might be happening in the world. And so I took time out, I took a year off university, took an unpaid sabbatical and delved deeper into where we're at. And published a paper in July called Deep Adaptation, which talked about our predicament, the tragedy of climate change, and basically said that my conclusion is that now a climate-induced collapse in our way of life is inevitable and in the near term, and we need to stop. We need to move beyond the idea that this is taboo and this is counterproductive, and actually have far more honest, expansive, open-minded and open-hearted conversations about what that might mean and what we might do. But I'm very new to talking about this topic in public. I haven't actually worked out fully for myself what does this mean for me. I mean, I've stayed one foot in academia, but I'm really questioning not just the topic I work on, but is that the right place for me? And I think the process, I've had quite a while to go through a process of reflection and the sort of the emotional and psychological and spiritual challenges of an awareness of impending collapse to our way of life. And so I know it's a tough ask just in one evening to actually explore that together just in an hour and a half or so, but that's what we're going to try and do. And it is a tough subject, and I want to say that at the start, because I think if we need to recognize that difficult emotions, sadness, grief, fear, anger, even some panic, these are very understandable emotions, and I think we need to witness them in ourselves and each other, rather than try and avoid them and move into sort of the how do we fix this quick mentality. Because I think that if we don't witness those emotions in ourselves and each other, we risk sort of going off into action which is some kind of delusion, sort of a distraction through immediate action. So we are going to, that's also why Tony's going to do a process a bit later with us after I speak and before a Q&A, to recognize that aspect of this topic and this work. But I want to point out also that although we're going to have I'm going to present some difficult material, none of us here are in any immediate sort of danger, and so we can look at this and ideally hold each other and those difficult emotions, but recognize there's no imminent threat to us. And if anyone is having any difficult emotions, then we also have the Climate Psychology Alliance represented here. And they're a really great group of psychotherapists and related practitioners who are now getting together to support people with different types of, whether it's eco-grief or eco-trauma. And I'll mention them at the end, and I'll ask them to stand up. So that was a rather depressing opening. I've been starting to play with the idea of a number of ideas of how to communicate this stuff. And I've got this idea of there being 3 hard truths. The first is the nature of our predicament, and summarized as collapse is coming. And I'll talk a bit about that. The second is, I think, the dominant narratives that I'm hearing, which I would argue form forms of denial, and why we succumb to denial or fall back into it. And then the third hard truth, which I'm calling we have to let go. And by that I mean we have to let go of a lot of stories and ideas about ourselves, our profession, and the future, in order to have a very different type of conversation about what to do. What do I mean by collapse? It's quite a powerful word. And what I mean by it is an uneven ending of our current means of sustenance, shelter, security, entertainment, and identity. Other people might prefer a term like a societal breakdown or an unraveling. But actually, forms of collapse are underway and have been for a while. And the FAO, just Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, reported just recently that over the last 3 years, hunger and malnutrition have been rising globally. And then also analysis of the Syrian conflict has shown the role of the extended drought in that as well. And of course, we now know that over 200 species are going extinct every day. So there's forms of collapse already underway. We are within the 6th mass extinction. The key thing that I summarize in my paper, and I think that we have to wake up to, and what's really become clear with a range of other reports recently, is the speed of climate change. It's really obvious now. Globally, the last 4 years were the hottest ever on record. Of the last 18 years, 17 were the hottest ever on record. We have an area of ice, of the Arctic ice cap, the size of India that's missing if we compare now with the 1980s. It's going to be a record year for carbon emissions this year. It's going to possibly even be over 3.5% of rise in carbon emissions this year. The IPCC, the UN body that talks about this, have changed for many years they were talking about what would happen and how bad things would be by 2100, which sounded very futuristic if we didn't change. Their most recent report talked about how we are not on course at all for 1.5 degrees global, to restrict warming to 1.5 degrees, which would be, if we hit 1.5 degrees, they are arguing it would be catastrophic for a range of things like fisheries and food supply. We're not on course to stay within 2 degrees, which would be definitely catastrophic for our civilization. Now this is a consensus of global scientists, or scientists around the world. But the thing is, when I looked into this myself, it's actually a lot worse than what the IPCC have been saying. The IPCC has always been erring on the side of caution because it's always been seeking consensus. So it meant that in 2007, for example, when they issued a report, they were making predictions of sea level rise where the lower range of their prediction of sea level rise was actually lower than what was already being reported by satellite measurements. And that's because they didn't include anything if there was not consensus among scientists. So they, for example, were not including the amount of meltwater from glaciers and what that would do to sea level rise because there wasn't consensus on it. And so they also left out the major self-reinforcing feedback loops. So what we're seeing is quite terrifying problem with the melting of the permafrost around the Arctic, leading to the release of methane, which is a far more powerful greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. And methane levels have been increasing rapidly. And so there are these feedbacks. The most worrying of which is in the Arctic, where it's the loss of sea ice. So when sunlight, as probably many of you know, when it hits ice, it's white, and 95% of the energy is reflected back into space. When that's replaced by dark ocean, because of melting, 95% of that energy is retained in the sea. And so Professor Peter Wadhams, one of Britain's top polar scientists, has concluded through analysing this that when we lose the Arctic ice cap, and surrounding ice in the Arctic zone, year-round, that would contribute as much global heating as half of all anthropogenic, all human-caused emissions, warming from our emissions. So that completely takes us over those things I've said, 1.5 or 2 degrees, and puts us into that catastrophic scenario.
So did that create a little panic? So as we often say, and as was mentioned before, we want to deal with the truth as it is and not create our little bubble of happiness in some form. That is what the life of ego is. And forewarned is forearmed. What he is saying is a very serious message, but as we are emphasizing today, that this world that we are talking about, it comes with a label, unpredictable. To create a bondage in such a world is what we are questioning. That world is going by its own law, pattern. Of course, if we want to save it, why not? That's what many organizations are trying to save it. He says it is now too late. We can't reverse this process. We have gone beyond the tipping point. And it is now exponential. Year on year, temperature is going to rise. What is happening in Europe this year also, you can see. So he says, and it will have all collapse, when he goes into details, collapse of the monetary system, finance system, collapse of police system, collapse is coming. It is a serious message. And he says he himself feels panic. More he looks into this situation, there is a feeling of panic. And I'll tell you another, any questions? Anyone want to say anything?
Do you have any good news?
Yes, it is a news, and we can take benefit of this, here, forewarned, and take benefit and make it into a good news. Any other thoughts? I'll tell you one story, and this story is in a book by another scientist. It is also a book on the environment, and it is first chapter, first page. This book starts with this story, and in this story, one boat. In this boat, there is a party, and everyone wants cakes. And there are some very nice, kind people. They are bringing cakes, and everyone getting cakes. And some want big cakes, some want more cakes, but everyone is happy. But you are realizing that this boat is sinking, and your priority is now not to have more cakes. Your priority is to get out of this boat. Understand? How to come out. So he says, at present, our planet is in the position of the boat. And there is a party. Everyone is in the party. They don't want to hear anything, the situation, what is happening to the boat. They want cakes. And there are people who are bringing cakes, and the party is going really well. And you are realizing that the boat is sinking. You want to come out. If you love anyone, you want them to come out of the boat. At this time, if you are giving them a cake, it's a deception. It is not love. So, that if we are seeing from this model, during the times you are practicing being the soul, you are coming out of the boat. If you are waking up, you are coming out of the boat. During the time you are waking up, experiencing the home, Father, you are coming out of the boat. Detachment, waking up, these are very precious things. Paras is extremely useful in a situation like this. Otherwise you are deceived. Patthar takes you into the boat, gets you into the bondages in the boat. So during the time I am just thinking of this world, idle, just you are thinking what happened yesterday, what someone did. You are in the story. You are in the boat during that time. If I am creating new attachments, new habits, the bondages, then you tie yourself in the boat. Not that you are in the boat, you get a knot. A string is created. So it will become difficult to come out of the boat if you choose. Certain of our life behaviors and habits, especially connected with addictions and lust, they create a double knot. The soul gets tied in this sinking boat in a more severe way. and then it becomes more difficult to come out. All these are creating happiness. The attachments, they create happiness. The addictions, they go in that because of happiness. But they get tied in that sinking boat and become the cause of more pain and more misfortune. As the reason for the misfortune will be, later on you may realize water level is rising, it is time to come out. And so it may be, these knots will create an obstacle. At present, if we are to think of this, the simple program, let us not create any more bondages. Let us see if I can come out of this. Jivan Mukti is a very beautiful term that is in the Indian writings. Means you are free whilst you are here in the Jivan. You are in the world, but at the same time free. That is the life of a guest. Guest is free. He is in Jivan Mukti. If you become free from these bondages and stay here, you are in Jivan Mukti. No one can have a higher quality of life than this. One who is free. Even King Janak, the biggest thing he wanted is Jivan Mukti. He got kingdom. He is king. He is a sage. But still he wanted Jivan Mukti. That is highest. So if you can achieve that, there is a method for this. We can take steps in that direction. And when you are in that space, what else do you want? If you are free from this, then whether there is collapse, there is no collapse. You are free. You are always a winner. You know the sky, you also know the story in a deep way, not just as an information knowledge, but the awake soul is not having any strings. The information we may agree, understand also. There are some people who say, "Oh, I got knowledge. My spirituality will help me." Spiritual information is not enough. The knots that are created, ego that are created, attachments created, they are very deep, and they have to be sorted out. That is why we have time. We can use this time in a serious way. Thank you. I don't know if anyone want to add anything or say anything.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Prashant Bhai, for the very wonderful insight into the reasons behind our unhappiness, and also look at a different perspective of how to bring happiness back into our lives. And it's all a matter of choice, as you've said. And if you want to explore some of these things, I'd like to bring your attention that Dr. Prashant has written a book, and it's called Making Sense, which is available downstairs from our inner space. Now, recently, a new law has been introduced since last year, GDPR. And if you want to receive information from us about future events, courses, and seminars that are taking place, you need to register. You need to give us your consent. So downstairs, if you leave your email, we will send you the link, and then you will give your consent. And then from that, you'll be informed of future events, regular events, like this one that took place this evening. And if you want to explore some of what Prashant Bhai has said, we run courses, seminars, talks, and we have one that starts tomorrow. It's called Overcoming Irritation, Frustration, and Anger. You're not angry, are you? No? Well, if you do want to remove even a slight trace of it, well, there's a course happening tomorrow, 2 o'clock till 5 o'clock. It's a half-day course. And then every first week of the new month, we run courses in positive thinking, Raj Yoga, and regular Friday talks. Now, I hope you enjoyed this talk. I hope it's given you a little bit of insight. But at the same time, knowledge, as Prashant Bhai said, is not enough. Knowing is not doing. So we need to practice this. And what we'd like to do to finish off this evening is just go into meditation, okay? Just for a few minutes of silence. If I can ask you, Prashant Bhai, just to take the whole audience, give a few commentaries, and just go in that silence so it becomes experiential rather than just information. Okay? Thank you very much. Om Shanti. We reflect on few words spoken today. The word paras, the traveler, being awake, seeing the whole physical world as a story, great story. Extraordinary gift. Aware of the secure eternal home. Aware of the supreme company, supreme friend. Truth is beautiful. Truth is always beautiful. When we are in truth, there is no bondage. There is freedom. No one can have a higher quality of life than the one who is free, one who is awake. Soul that is in Jivan Mukti.